episode discusses public court records and official police documents for informational purposes. Any commentary, opinions, or theories expressed are our own. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law.
Legal disclaimer. This case discusses severe distress, disappearance of a person, and potential violence and murder. Listener discretion advised. There are highways that feel familiar, and then there are highways that seem to change entirely after dark. Do you know those?
It seems that way.
Like during the day, this is a fine place
like
to be.
I-70?
Yes.
I-435?
Yes, but at night,
yeah,
I'm good. It's scary because during the day, we're going to be specifically talking about Interstate 29. It's simply one of the major arteries leading in and out of Kansas City. It carries commuters to work, families traveling north going to Iowa, and lots of travelers making their way to the Kansas City International Airport, which is right off there of I-29.
Mm-hmm.
And that exit, traffic steady, and a reminder, there's someone near at all times if I need help. But when it gets dark, as we just said, sometimes highways become something different.
Nothing good happens after midnight.
The rush of the day gives way to long stretches of darkness, and the glow of the city starts to disappear. And you might get an occasional pair of headlights appearing in the distance. They vanish quickly. Semi-trucks, of course, continue their overnight routes, but the space between vehicles gets longer. And a driver that ends up stranded on the shoulder may find themselves waiting several minutes or even longer before another car passes by. In late February, the end of winter, that isolation can feel even more pronounced.
Yeah.
Because now everything's bare, brown, dormant. It's cold. And even inside a disabled vehicle along the side of the highway, the temperatures start to drop quickly once the engine is no longer running. For most people, if they run out of gas on a stretch of highway, it might be remembered as, damn it, why did I do that? And this is very inconvenient, a frustrating story to tell about later.
Yeah.
But for 18-year-old Crystal Lynn Kipper, this becomes the beginning of a tragedy that has haunted Missouri for almost 3 decades. On the morning of February 24th, 1997, Crystal disappears after her car runs out of gasoline on the southbound shoulder of I-29 near Missouri Route 371, which is just north of the Kansas City International Airport. Her vehicle is found just hours later. Her hazard lights are still flashing, but Crystal is nowhere to be found. This is not simply the story of Crystal's disappearance. This is the story of an ordinary night that became extraordinary, an investigation that uncovers disturbing evidence, and a family that continues to live without the answers that every family deserves. This is Missouri Mayhem, Mystery and Murder. I'm Megan.
And I'm Mindy. Thank you for joining us today. We have the best listeners ever and appreciate all of you.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today, spending your free time or work time with us. We really appreciate you. Before we get into talking about exactly what happened with Crystal in February of 1997, it is really important in this case to take ourselves back to the year, because we are so used to being absorbed with technology, phones. I can get a hold of anyone at any time. This is a different time.
1997, there were no phones.
No. And I think it's really important for us to set up this year to really understand the world during this time. And thanks to Terry for mentioning that, kind of for us to me to kind of do this little segment, because he's like, kind of set the stage so we can understand it.
Yeah.
So 1997. Now, this was a world that would feel both very familiar to us today, but very distant to us today.
I think I really am going to like going back to 1997.
I loved the 90s.
I know.
The 90s were a great decade.
They were.
The internet existed, but it was not something that we knew like it is today.
No.
It was the noisy dial-up.
If you got lucky and got a computer and you could look up a couple things, it would take a year to pull it up. And
usually, though, people at this point only had access to computers at work or school.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A person could disappear from a highway without leaving back the kind of digital evidence we have today. There's no smartphone. Crystal didn't have a phone.
No.
She didn't have GPS location sharing like Life 360. She had no instant messages. She had nothing to show where she'd been with who. In 97, we were still using good old paper maps.
Oh, Grand McNally, right?
Yeah. And people still stopped at gas stations and stores.
And I wasn't scared.
No, exactly. Not scared.
Like I would stop in the middle of the town and say, hey, can you tell me where the nearest whatever is, and not be scared at all.
Exactly. Nowadays,
no,
I don't think I could do that. And if your car broke down on the side of the road in 1997, I mean, your options are much more limited than they are today. Yeah. So let's go back to the technology in 97. What did we have? Well, in February of 1997.
A pager.
Maybe.
I had a pager.
Terry did too. Around this time, probably from
I had one in 1998.
Okay, I think he had one probably 96 to 99, maybe.
The thing would go off and you'd be like, oh, now I got to find a payphone.
Yeah, in 97, very few people had cell phones. Text messaging was not.
If they did have a cell phone, it was that giant, great big one.
Exactly, that huge, cute, giant block.
Yeah.
GPS navigation is not available in consumer vehicles at all. Social media did not exist and internet was not widely accessible. And if someone left your house and something happened, I mean, there's no way for the family to know immediately. I can remember
Life 360.
driving like the Pinto in the 90s, the 77 Pinto to college. And those were some secluded roads I would drive. And if I would have broken down, like how awful. I mean, come on.
In your 1976 Pinto.
Yes. So, I mean, in the 90s and before.
You needed to memorize phone numbers in 1997.
And you needed to have a plan with your, like, what if I do break down? Do I stay in my car and wait for someone to stop and then tell them to go get a police officer and come back? Don't ever get out of your car. Lock the doors. Don't roll your window down. Do I leave and walk? When you leave the security of your car, I don't know, especially in this day and time. And this is important when looking at Crystal's disappearance, because today a stranded driver, again, I could share my location. Here's a pin. Come get me in 2 seconds.
Yes.
In 97, you're sitting on the shoulder of a highway and the people that you love most, they may not have any clue where you're at, how you got there. And
what do you do?
Exactly.
What was the safe option?
I just remember our parents saying, stay in the car.
Wait till someone comes.
Or flag someone down that you think, or if you see a police officer or someone you think safe, barely crack your window or talk through the window and say, I'm stranded. Can you please go somewhere and
basically
call
you're
someone?
saying I'm stranded, I'm completely vulnerable, and you could probably kill me.
Please don't do anything to me.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, let's talk a little bit, again, just to kind of take us back to the time. In 1997, it was a pretty big year at the box office. Titanic.
Near far.
Yes. And again, huge in 97. Men in Black with Will Smith.
Yes.
The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and Liar Liar with Jim Carrey were all big at the theater. And the radio in Crystal's car, again, would have sounded very different from the music today. She was probably listening to some of these songs. You ready?
Yes.
Candle in the Wind by Elton John, because remember, 97, this is when Princess died.
And he rewrote it.
Yeah, it was like good English Rose or something. Goodbye, Norma Jean. Instead, it's a unbreak my heart, say you'll love me again.
Okay, you have a great voice, but that did not register at all. I have no idea what song. I do know the next one.
I do not have a good voice.
Okay. I believe I can fly. I'm sorry, that was really loud.
You were right in my.
I was really right. I believe I can touch the sky. I
think about it
every night and day.
I spread my wings
and fly away.
So that was none other than R. Kelly.
Oh.
Excuse me, vomit. And then You Were Meant for Me. I had to look up the song, but you would know it. It was by
Okay, what is it?
It's a Jewel song, and it's real slow. I can't
I
play
don't
it
even
'cause
know
of
who Jewel
copyright.
is.
You know, Jewel, you'd know her if you saw her. She was
Why'd you point to your
'cause
tooth
she has
when
a
you
gap.
said
She
Jewel?
has she has a gap. I did.
You're like
I go,
trying to
"You know
show
Jewel," and I like point to my teeth.
I'm like,
She
why
kinda
are
has
you
a gap, you know?
Mm.
So those were the songs that Crystal might have been listening to. Now, in 1997, Bill Clinton has started his second term as president. Um, Also in 97, IBM's Deep Blue, it was a computer, defeated a world chess champion, Garry Kasparov. And this was a huge milestone for artificial intelligence. They had created something that could beat a human. And now we know AI is taking over.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah. In everyday life, a teenager like Crystal might have experienced a world where you called your friends on a home phone and you had to know their phone numbers.
Okay, and what you did was you had a list of all the phone numbers next to the phone. Remember that?
So literally, we're going through things in storage. A couple months ago, I pulled out a box of pictures. I found a picture of me in my room on my phone that mom had taken or something.
Yeah.
I was probably 12.
Mhm.
And right behind me is my list of phone numbers.
Uh-huh.
It's a giant piece of paper with like 300
It is
phone numbers on it.
like if your house is burning down, you grab that list.
Oh, I don't know how many numbers I wrote on my hand and pen.
Yeah.
When I'd be with or meet someone new and they'd be like, "Here's my phone number."
Oh, yeah.
I'd write it on my hand. I'd get home and I'd be like, "I gotta add
I know.
it to my
It's not
list."
surprised we don't have ink poisoning.
Yeah. So you're calling your friends on a home phone. You're leaving messages on good old answering machines,
I miss that.
not voicemails.
Yeah.
You're buying music on CDs, going to Blockbuster.
Oh,
Friday
I
night.
loved you, Blockbuster.
And Little Caesars. And you were putting directions on MapQuest.
You sure were.
Yes. You were watching scheduled TV programs at a certain time each night because you couldn't stream them later.
No, and you know what was cool is you knew your friends were watching the same thing as you were.
Right. At the same time.
Because that's all you had.
Exactly. And if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah.
You're out of luck until we finally got recording, could record on the
You
VHS.
never got to see it.
No, that's it. Never again.
You
Unless
were-
they play reruns 10 years later and you can watch
You had
it.
to be there.
Yes. And you carried coins or change for if you needed a payphone.
Oh, I'm at a payphone
I know.
trying to call home.
Now, I loved the 90s, but this was a time when you would leave the house and you became truly unreachable.
And it was no big deal.
And it was just life.
It could be like
that was how life
from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And then maybe after that, my parents would start getting.
Yeah. I mean, they wanted to know where we were. Like, okay, where are you going to be? If you leave there, call me. I'm at a new place.
Yeah.
Like if I went different, okay, now I'd call home. Okay, we're going to the pool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're going to be pool for a few hours. And then I'll go back to their house,
Yeah.
So that is the world Crystal's living in.
Yeah.
Now, February 24th, 1997 was not just a date on a police report. I mean, it's a moment frozen in a very different time in America. A time, again, before all this connectivity, before you had a digital footprint.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time I heard those words.
Uh-huh.
The Crystal Kipper disappeared on a highway in a world where someone could be miles away from home and still be alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, every victim has a point in their story where they cease to be viewed as a person. And sadly, they become known for their disappearance, their murder, whatever happened to them. And their pictures are replaced with missing person posters, and their birthdays are now anniversaries of their death or when they went missing. And a life that was once measured by milestones becomes measured by the timeline of the investigation. Well, here at Missouri Mayhem, we want to make sure we really focus on our victim. And before any of that happened, Crystal Kipper was simply a young woman beginning adulthood. Crystal Lynn Kipper was 18 years old in 1997, and she had lived in Gladstone, Missouri most of her life, and that's a suburb just north of Kansas City. And during the 90s, Gladstone's the kind of community where neighborhoods are very well established, families are often generational, and many residents commuted just not far into Kansas City for work, but they liked the kind of small suburban lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, like many teenagers approaching adulthood, Crystal was beginning a life that she was trying to figure out. She worked, She spent time with her friends, and she really enjoyed the new independence she'd gained over the last couple of years of having a driver's license and a car. Yeah. Friends and family remember her as outgoing, energetic, and although the public record only gives limited details about her life, everyone that knew her understood that she had a lot of plans for her future. And, that's what's hard when you're talking about these young kids. I mean, at 18, you think you have your whole world ahead of you. I mean, high school.
And you do.
You do. And for her, high school's getting ready to end, college, relationships, travel. I mean, I could do anything. Anything's possible. No one around Crystal had any reason to believe that the evening of February 23rd, 1997 is the last day anyone would ever see her alive. And that evening began without anything to suggest it would be different from so many others. So, ordinary Sunday evening. The weekend's coming to a close. Across Kansas City, people are settling into their Sunday night routines, got maybe the Sunday night blues, having to go back to work the next morning. Restaurants are closing down that evening. Last rush. Traffic starting to become a little bit lighter on the Kansas City interstates. And Crystal had spent much of that evening on February 23rd, 1997, with a group of friends. According to investigators, that evening, as it got dark, she later drove one of those friends to their home before driving back towards Gladstone. Now, the public record doesn't show every stop she made, and of course, we don't have those conversations. What investigators were able to establish, though, is that sometime during the early morning hours of February 24th, so after midnight at some point, Crystal is driving alone southbound on I-29 alone. Now, this is a familiar route. This is not like new territory for
her, right?
Yeah. And she had every reason to believe she'd be heading home. She was on her way home. Sadly, instead, somewhere near Missouri Route 371, right off of I-29, so around the 371 exit, she runs out of gas. Now, at first, Crystal's probably thinking this is freaking inconvenient. Seriously, here it is at night. I mean, drivers run out of gas every day. You can call a family member, or some decide to walk to the nearest gas station. Some wait and wave down motorists, kind of like we were talking. Like, what are my options? Again, in 97, options are very different. None of that technology. And,
sometimes I hate my phone. I do.
I know.
I hate having my phone, but my gosh, if I were to get stuck on the side of the road, I would be so thankful for it.
Exactly. Like, it's definitely a love-hate relationship.
It definitely is.
And if your car became disabled along a dark stretch of highway, I mean, you're relying largely on chance. I mean, the hope that someone trustworthy, that's the question, that's the key word, is going to stop, hopefully before someone with bad intentions.
And this very thing has happened to me.
Where you ran out of gas or been stuck on the side of the road.
I was with another person and their truck broke down, and we were headed to Colorado in a snowstorm, and we were on the side of the road and you couldn't even see. And so we just literally waited for a car, and then they went and got us help. And that's how we did it.
Didn't have a cell phone or anything.
Did not. That would have been in 1998, and I did not have a cell phone.
Luckily, you were with another person.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was freaking out.
Yeah.
And I was trying to calm him down.
You're like, somebody's got to be in this situation. So did a tow truck come or something?
Yep, a tow truck come. Yep.
Well,
came.
For Crystal, investigators believe that chance of someone trustworthy coming and helping her didn't ever happen.
Yeah.
If you are familiar with I-29 today and that Route 371 exit, it's very different. That area looks very different than it did in 97. And I can attest to that because I know that area. And the KCI International Airport, again, it's only a few miles south. But during the 1990s, businesses were still very scarce through that area. It was very wooded still. There were residential neighborhoods, but some way off of the highway, more farmland than anything, wooded areas.
I think it's been 30 years.
Yes, 30 years. And during daylight hours, I mean, it's just another section of highway, but people travel all the time. But in the early morning hours of this February, the landscape there after midnight probably feels very isolated. Again, the only consistent might be a passing vehicle here or there. But I mean, a stranded motorist could watch one set of taillights fade away and wait and maybe see another car. I mean, you don't know. It's crazy, really, how quiet interstates can get after midnight.
It is spooky.
It is. Besides truckers.
Yeah.
So, sometime around 2:20 that morning, according to the investigative timeline, police believe Crystal Kipper's 1989 Ford Probe, remember those? Came to a stop on the southbound shoulder near this exit because it had run out of gas.
Okay, now tell me what she was doing out at 2:20 in the morning.
So she had been out with friends that evening and had taken a friend home somewhere north of Kansas City. And she's on her way back home to Gladstone. At that moment, again, the instant her car coasts to a stop off of that exit of I-29, this is the last time in the timeline that investigators can confidently place Crystal. Her last moment. We know she was here at some point. That's the last place we know her to be. Everything that happens afterwards had to be reconstructed from physical evidence, witness accounts, and discoveries made months later. There are no publicly known eyewitnesses who report seeing Crystal get out of her vehicle and leave it. There were no surveillance cameras around. You think about that too.
Yeah, no cameras.
Nope. No interstate cameras, none of that. And the only witness left once the sun comes up that next morning in February is Crystal's car sitting there empty. So earlier that morning, Crystal fails to return home. She is not home when her parents wake up, and they grow extremely concerned. I mean, there's a moment when routine and, there's reasonable explanations. Maybe she just stayed at her friend's house and she hasn't called. Nope, called them. She's not there. Maybe she stopped to help someone. Okay, how do we figure that out? Maybe her car broke down and she's waiting for a tow truck. What is this? Well, as the hours go by, phone calls go unanswered. Friends haven't seen her. No one's hearing from her. I mean, her family's getting very worried. And the following day, her Ford Probe is located on that shoulder off of I-29. What's even scarier in a way is not only is her car found, but the hazard lights that we guess she turned on are still flashing. They're slowly draining the battery, but they were flashing. And that small detail made a very lasting impression because those blinking lines suggested to investigators this car had been left exactly as Crystal had hoped someone would find it. A signal that she needed
assistance.
Help. Instead, they become a silent reminder that whatever help arrived, if help did arrive, it was not good help. And it did not bring her home safely. Law enforcement were starting to treat Crystal's disappearance with a lot of urgency. Search efforts were organized. Deputies, volunteers, they looked along the roads, the ditches, the wooded areas. They start to interview friends, family, anyone who might have seen her in the hours before she disappeared. Every lead mattered. They wanted to check every lead that came in and every hour that passed. As we know, the first 48 made the search more difficult. Now, in Crystal's case, there's one fact that stood out very quickly. Nothing about her disappearance fit her usual behavior. You know, sometimes the police want to very quickly say, well, they ran away. Well, they ran away. Well, first of all, she didn't tell anyone. She hadn't come back for her car. And she hadn't just decided to leave.
No.
I mean, this was not adding up. This was all very much out of her character. They knew very quickly something's wrong. Days turn into weeks. The search expands beyond the stretch of the interstate. Missing person posters bearing her name go up around Kansas City. Her description was circulated through law enforcement agencies, and investigators try to find credible leads. But as winter gives way to spring, they still have nothing. No sign of Crystal, no valuable or viable leads, and her family is just in anguish. I mean, what happened to Crystal?
Yeah,
where'd she go?
Where did she go?
Had someone stopped to offer her help? Was she still alive? What's going on? Had something more sinister happened? Where is our Crystal? Now, without evidence pointing in a direction, investigators have to consider every possibility. Then, months after Crystal's vanished, another violent crime would unexpectedly reopen every question surrounding her disappearance. And it all starts with an entirely different investigation.
Oh.
One involving the abduction and sexual assault of another young woman. Now, as detectives are searching the home of the man accused of this assault and abduction, they find something they cannot believe. Hidden among this individual's belongings are items that belong to Crystal Kipper.
Okay.
That discovery would forever change this investigation, transforming what had once been a baffling missing persons case into something they thought they might now be able to explain.
Now, what items did they find that belonged
We're
to
going
her?
to talk about that.
Okay.
Yes, I know. Now, for much of 1997, remember, she disappeared in February. Investigators searching for Crystal are working really, really hard, but they have no evidence. No crime scene, except for just her car, no confirmed witnesses, no body, nothing. And those first months, I mean, they don't know what to do. And I mean, this is unbearable for Crystal's family.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, months go by. The phone rings, they're hoping. Investigators ask them more questions, they're hoping. Instead, they get answers from somewhere they never dreamed. Not because of a breakthrough in Crystal's case, but because of another woman. And another woman, thank goodness, who survived an abduction and an assault. And that detail is easy to overlook when people read about this case today, because Crystal's disappearance wasn't solved because investigators just all of a sudden found new evidence or someone told them something that led them there.
Right.
This isn't the result of someone coming forward. This is the result of a totally different criminal investigation.
Yeah.
And had that investigation never happened, it's possible they never, ever would have connected a man named John E. Williams to Crystal Kipper at all. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of Ben Owensby and Sean Hornsbeck. They were the two boys, that were abducted and kept, and they went to find one of them and found the other one who'd been gone for 10 years.
Yes.
Remember that?
Yes.
And we're like, holy shit, I think that's the other kid we've been looking for.
And it was.
And that's how I bet they were like, wow. Yeah. Now, later this same year, again, law enforcement authorities are investigating this violent crime against another woman. And she had been abducted and sexually assaulted and survived. And her ability to report what happened gave detectives something they'd lacked in Crystal's case, which is the suspect. And this suspect, like I said, is John E. Williams. And as detectives build their case, they obtain this search warrant for his house for what he's done to this other woman.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're going to find some evidence here to show what he did to her. And again, what they discover inside the home are personal belongings that investigators identify as belonging to Crystal Kipper. What are those?
Okay.
Number one, her ID, her driver's license, a pay stub, other personal effects, and pieces of torn clothing that seem to match what she had on.
Yeah.
For detectives, this is immediately something significant. I mean, these are not random. These are possessions that should have been with Crystal the night she disappeared.
Yes.
Investigators find them in this man's home. I mean, can you imagine being the detective that all of a sudden you pick up and you're like, Crystal Kipper, Crystal Kipper, she's missing Crystal Kipper? Like, oh my gosh. I mean, I can't.
Connection.
Yes. Now, investigators have a reason to believe that this is the person responsible for Crystal's disappearance.
I would say so.
The evidence recovered from the house didn't simply establish that Crystal's belongings had been there. According to investigators, forensic examination provided something even more troubling. DNA testing confirmed that this clothing was Crystal's.
Yeah.
That is now in John Williams' home. And they also determined, which is terrifying, that the condition of the clothing was consistent with a violent struggle, And that finding is important because until then, they had thought there's a possibility she left voluntarily. Or maybe an accident occurred when she abandoned her vehicle. Maybe she got lost in the woods and couldn't find her way out.
Right.
Who knows?
Okay, yeah.
But this evidence is telling a different story.
Yeah.
They definitely believed that she'd been attacked. And although they had not recovered her body, they believed Crystal had been murdered.
Yeah.
Now, as we know, without a body, this makes things very difficult for the prosecution to bring homicide charges. But investigators were very confident that Crystal had been taken against her will somewhere along that highway, and they believed it was Johnny Williams. So they're like, even though we don't have a body, we're moving forward
with him.
And for Crystal's family, these discoveries inside Williams' home, of course, brought many emotions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one is, well, thank God we have a suspect, a direction.
Yeah.
We might know. But there's also devastation in the fact they realize that Crystal may not be coming home.
Yeah, they found her stuff.
Yeah, the discovery of her belongings inside this house of a man who's being accused of another violent crime makes one possibility increasingly difficult to ignore, that she's not coming home and that he probably did something to her. Again, the answer to the question, or the answer that many people want, is why and what exactly happened. And that question eventually will be put directly to the perpetrator himself, Johnny Williams. Now, before John E. Williams became connected to this disappearance, he was already, again, known to local law enforcement. First of all, he's a convicted sex offender living in Kansas City, which is scary to think.
Yeah.
How many random sex offenders and violent people can be living out among you?
Oh, they say you pass like one a day or something.
It's scary. And his criminal history later is significant because, again, he has a pattern of doing terrible things to women. So in July 1997, this is 5 months after Crystal's vanished, Williams is arrested in connection with this other crime involving this other woman, and her name, I'm just going to say her first name, is Angela.
Okay.
And according to investigators, John Williams kidnapped Angela, held her captive inside his Kansas City home for 10 days, during which he repeatedly assaulted her before she was able to escape and call for help. So he had her trapped for 10 days, and she was able to get out, thank God.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, the investigation of that crime, again, leads police there, and that's what basically connects him to Crystal. Now, Williams is later convicted for these crimes against Angela, and thank God he's sentenced to prison. And during that investigation, they learn, again, more about his background. They get this evidence, his criminal history. All this is just tying him into this. The evidence also raises questions, though. First of all, how did Crystal's belongings end up in his house? I mean, how did that happen?
Well, I think a lot of murderers keep their victims' belongings, don't they?
Like souvenirs.
Yeah.
Why is her clothing damaged?
Because he ripped it off of her.
And the answers to these are not, What exactly happened between the time her vehicle stopped on I-29 and the moment those items were discovered months later?
She trusted someone to help her and got in a car.
Possibly. I agree. Possibly. Or she took off walking. He came up on her.
True.
Pulled a gun on her, forced her in the car. It's dark.
Right.
Sees them. Investigators believe that the answers equal out to a violent encounter.
Yeah.
They believe Crystal had been targeted after she became stranded. The sequence of events, they don't know. That's what they think happened. Now, as the investigation continues, Johnny Williams does eventually provide investigators with his account of what he says happened to Crystal. Now, is he a reliable source? Who knows? This is what he says. According to reports, Williams claims, I accidentally struck Crystal with my vehicle when I saw her near the interstate. He said that after the incident,
You call the police.
Yeah, he buries her. However, the investigators don't believe that. They believe her death was homicide, resulting in death, that there was a struggle. This is not accidental based on her clothing, the stuff in his home, all of this. They believe he intentionally caused her death.
Yeah.
Now, again, we still have this obstacle. There have never been any remains found. Crystal Kipper's remains to this day have still never been found. And that complicates things, you know? I mean, it complicates things in the investigation. And more than anything, law enforcement wants to be able to return Crystal to her family.
Yeah.
That's important. They need to grieve. They need a place to say goodbye. And they want this. Well, in April of 1999, another unexpected turn comes in this case. Johnny Williams, who's in prison for that other crime, decides to commit suicide inside his prison cell.
Yeah.
Fucking
pussy.
Exactly. He took with him the piece of information that only he knew, as far as we know. Most criminals tell someone else, and that's the hope. Crystal's family hopes there's someone out there who was told something by John Williams or
While
someone
in prison.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the location of Crystal Kipper essentially dies with John Williams.
Oh.
So,
if you're going to kill yourself, just tell everybody where she is before you do it.
Seriously. In this case, there is no answer in recovery. There's no recovery of her body. There's no real answer in confessions because his confession is probably a lie. There's none of that for Crystal's family.
No.
Investigators believe they know what happened, who's responsible, but the one missing piece is Crystal herself.
Yeah.
Now, after investigating Williams' connection to Crystal, they do shift then the focus to where maybe did he bury her or leave her. Search efforts are conducted. They try to examine every interview. They go back and re-examine the interviews they did with Williams. They try and where might she be? But finding someone who's been gone for many, many years with limited information is very hard.
There are so many people that are completely missing. That have never been found. Where are they?
Right. Where are they? And you have to think about, too, landscape changes.
True.
Weather alters the ground. Vegetation grows and changes. Memories fade of people. We're talking about 30 years.
Yeah.
Places that seem significant years earlier may not even be able to be identified. And Crystal's family, they want to know where she is. They want to know exactly what happened to her. But without her remains, they're still a part of the story that's not finished. Crystal's case has remained active through law enforcement databases and missing person resources. Her profile continues to exist through different organizations dedicated to identifying missing people and assisting families for answers. Her information is preserved in official missing person records, including a very important database called the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, known as NAMS or NAMS.
How many people are in that?
Thousands and thousands.
So just thousands and thousands of people
I've went on there
disappeared
to search Missouri missing people, and we have thousands of people missing in Missouri that have never been found. That literally one day they went to a store, that was the last place they were seen, and they've never been seen again.
That is crazy.
Yes.
And so scary.
Crazy. The investigation did give us some answers. Not all of them, obviously. Where exactly did John Williams leave Crystal? Was the location accurate that he said, or what he said is accurate? What details did he not reveal? Did anyone else know something and never come forward? That's the big thing. They are hoping, her family's still hoping, that maybe someone out there knows something. Yeah. If you know anything, or think you know anything about Crystal's disappearance, we encourage you to contact the Platte County Sheriff's Office. And that number is 816-858-2424. 816-858-2424. Even a detail that seems insignificant could help investigators answer their question of, where is Crystal? Now, though Crystal's story is tragic, it will always be a tragedy. Her family has tried to make her name become associated with something else besides this tragedy, and they want that to be service. In the years following her disappearance, Crystal's memory has been connected to another young Missouri woman whose life was also cut short by violence. And that woman's name is Allie Kemp. And we plan on covering her case in the future as well. But together, Crystal and Allie's names eventually become part of a lasting recognition honoring those who work to protect our communities. It's called the Crystal Kipper and Allie Kemp Memorial Award, and it was created to recognize Amazing contributions from police, task forces, and organizations that try to prevent violent crimes, that protect kids, and try to respond to community challenges. And this award for their families and communities serves as a reminder that while their stories were tragic, their names can also inspire action. That's how they want us to remember Crystal and Allie, that although this is a tragedy, something good has come out of it.
Yes.
So before we wrap up this episode, Mindy, would you want to say a prayer for
Sure.
Crystal's family and still their need for answers?
Yes. Definitely, Father, Lord, we just come to you today, and we, just like Megan said, we want to bring to you today Crystal's family. They still don't have any answers. Lord, we pray that they get answers someday, that they do find her, that she is out there and they do find her. Um, and also the same with Allie Kemp, Lord. We just pray for her family. And we are so glad that Johnny Williams got put in prison. Um, just wish he would have told us more information, but there's nothing we can do about that now. Thank you, Lord, and we love you. Amen.
Amen. In the years following her disappearance, again, her name has been continued to preserve through victim advocacy, law enforcement records, and her case is still listed in those missing person databases. Because despite investigators' conclusions, again, no remains. A person can be legally presumed dead. Investigators can determine a crime's occurred. We know the suspect, but without recovery of a body, a family is still without closure. Thank you so much for being with us today. We know these are heavy episodes sometimes, and it's a big topic and a big thing to process. But we want to remember Crystal Kipper, and we want to remember her family and hope that they can get the answers they need. This has been Missouri Mayhem. I'm Megan.
And I'm Mindy. If you have a chance, please give our show a quick rate, review, and follow. And remember how much we appreciate all of you.
Don't forget to stay safe, stay kind, and stay curious. And Missouri, you bring the mystery.
We'll bring the mayhem.
Peace out.